Ladies and gentlemen, may I please have your attention? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are now live with BB3 TV.
All right, guys, welcome to Real Talk with Dom. Welcome to BB3 TV. We are here. We are now. Tonight, I have a friend, actually, during the day now. I usually say tonight because I'm usually at Thursday night at 8:30 with my friend Glenda on. Glenda, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dominic. How are you?
It's great. Well, other than having COVID, like I told you, we're here getting this done. So you can't let a little sickness stop you.
That's right.
Oddly enough, I was supposed to have you on a few weeks ago, and I had gotten sick. And I said, there's no way and no chance in hell that I'm going to get sick again. Here I got COVID, and no matter what, we're doing this show today. So Glenda, thank you for bearing with me, and thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. And we are stronger than COVID. Absolutely.
Indeed. So give me a little insight about yourself. Tell me about Glenda.
Well, I've been in Florida for about 6 years now, going on 6 years. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I have 2 grown children. My son, he still lives in Ohio, and my daughter lives here in Ocala. I moved down to Florida to be with my mom and my sister about 6 years ago, and I'm a nurse. I just finished a course in holistic nursing, and I'm also an intuitive and a REIKI master. So that's a little bit about me.
That's amazing. I want to get into REIKI. It's a Japanese form, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
When did you know you had this intuitiveness in you as far as the REIKI and know you were able to do this?
Well, I learned how to actually do REIKI when I worked in hospice in Ohio. And we had a course that was presented to us for continuing education points that we could use to renew our nursing license. And it sounded really interesting. It was the first time I had ever heard of it. And it was specifically for nurses, specifically for hospice. And, we were all a little bit apprehensive because we had never heard of this before. And we all signed up for the class and actually started using the practice of REIKI on our patients that were having very difficult transitioning to crossing over or passing. A lot of them had a lot of spiritual angst and a lot of unresolved things in life that was really holding them back from having what we would call a peaceful death. And that's how I first learned about REIKI. And then, I was busy raising my children and just working. I was a single mom and kind of didn't think about it too much. And then I had the opportunity to come to Florida, and it opened up a whole new world for me, meeting new people and just practicing more. My kids were grown, so I had a chance to focus on that a little bit more in my life.
Wow, that's amazing. Now with the REIKI, or you feel the energy, right? I don't understand.
Yes.
Like, you don't touch the body. What's the process of that? That's something like I'm just kind of learning at the moment myself.
Yes. So the energy is very interesting. We are all energy. And the really amazing part to me about REIKI is if you look in science, if you look at quantum physics, if you look at the universe, the galaxies, all the way down to our very cellular bodies, we are all made of energy, the whole entire universe that we are in. And so the Japanese physician, actually, in the early 1900s, who developed REIKI as a practice, he went into nature and he found how, we heal ourselves. People help each other heal with their own energy. There's a lot of healing that comes from the earth and from nature. on a physical plane, but then it goes deeper into a more spiritual level. So the energy, like I can even talk to you because you and I have shared some of these experiences. Just a certain people that you talk to that you could either the energy is a positive energy or it's a negative energy.
Well, you're exactly right there. I want to dive into that in a minute, but keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, that's okay. So the energy that I am able to kind of be kind of direct with intention in certain areas of a person's body or in more of a spiritual level is through Reiki. And it's very healing. It's a healing practice. And I mean, I could talk forever about energy, sound energy, light energy, and just the energy mostly that I experience is between not just people, but animals as well. So, you know,
Sure.
I've done horse Reiki, I've done Reiki on animals, and along with my Reiki, I'm also an intuitive. So I pick up where somebody may be hurting, whether it's a spiritual or a physical hurt, where the
Right.
energy will find the place to be to do what it needs to do to heal.
All right. Before we go on, I have a question from a BB3, Darren Buss. Question: do you go on any paranormal locations and investigations?
Yes, I do. I do. I do many of them. So I've always been very intuitive to energy of people that have passed, and not just people, but animals as well. We just did a really cool investigation in Orlando, and we had a group of people. It was for my daughter's bachelorette party. We had about 15 people, and we went on a ghost tour. And we were picking up the most amazing energy, and the energy was a lot of children. And on the ghost hunt, they did not tell us what the locations were. We kind of had to like pick up on the energy and pick up on any messages that we were getting. And it ended up being a brothel, and a lot of women ended up being pregnant, and there were a lot of children there.
Right.
Unfortunately, the children didn't survive, and but we were able to communicate with them, and it was a very fun and a healing experience that we had. I mean, it's not always like you know, and you and I have talked about this, Dominic, is that I really don't get involved with evil or demonic spirits, anything
Sure.
like that. Most of my energy that comes to me comes with the intention of healing, whether it's among the living or those who have, excuse me, already have passed.
Perfect. Yeah. We're before we get into the discussions, one more question from Darren Buss. I'm sure there's going to be many more. He has one more question. Says, "What's your favorite location in Florida, or whatever in general?"
Probably, well, one of my favorite locations, I think, would be, it changes because I really enjoy just about wherever I'm at the moment and try to be in the moment. Jenny Springs seems to be my favorite place these days.
Love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy. I've been there a couple of times. On a spiritual level or on a ghost hunting kind of trip, I would say it would be Savannah, Georgia. Actually, I have been there on vacation for about 5 days, and the intensity of the spiritual energy there was sometimes overwhelming for me.
Now, you and I have kind of hit it off. You remind me of somebody I've met here. Her name is Patricia McDowell. I've had her on one of my shows as far as the near-death experiences. I actually met her through a job site one day, but she had a spiritual level to her. You and I work at the same environment, same place, and you and I just kind of connected.
Yes.
I don't know how, and I don't know which way. Just something motivated me to say I had this network and wanted to talk to you, or was in that same situation at that time, that it just happened. And then from there on out, you and I have kind of hit it off as far as being on the same level. You know when something's wrong. There's Patricia McDowell right there. Oddly enough, check that out.
Hi, Patricia.
Yeah, there's Patricia McDowell. So it's kind of this. It's one of these things where it's like the same spirit self is meant to meet that person, just like I met Patricia. I was meant to meet you, and like I said, we hit it off. Can you explain that little that algorithm of how it happened?
So I was doing horse reiki for our mutual friend Glenda,
Mhm.
and she said, "Hey, you should talk to Dominic. He has this great show, and he's a and he's really into the paranormal, and you guys are you would hit it off really well." So we kept missing each other, because we're both flying around the hospital, like crazy. We're so busy, and I ended up having a dream about. So this is how I work. So I have these dreams or these intuitions, and I approach people, and they look at me like I'm a little crazy. But I say, "Hey, do you know somebody named?" I think in your case it was like Angela or Annie or Anna.
Mhm.
And did you know somebody I think named Derek or Garrick? And then there was another name. Actually, I was going to look back on what I had texted you, another name. And how did you feel when I approached you and asked you those questions?
Well, it was kind of one of these things where you, I remember the first words were, "I had a dream of you," and I'm like, "All right, well now you have my attention, right?"
I
And
can
then,
barely hear you.
can you hear me now? Is that better? Glenda, can you hear me?
Barely.
All right, well, I'm on full. Let me know if anyone
Okay.
else can hear me. You can hear me okay? Hello? All right, let me know. Anyone, give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me. I got my spit mic off right now. It
Okay.
shows my settings are at 100%. Glenda, can you
Okay.
hear
We're
me?
good. Yeah.
Okay. All
I
right,
can
we're
hear you
good.
now.
No, it was kind of one of these things because I know what you are. You told me beforehand. He says I can hear you both. What it was kind of like, because I know how a medium works, and you kind of get stopped in your tracks because you're not just taking your time out to tell me something stupid. You know what I mean? You have something to tell me. So you had my attention right there. You had a dream of me. Um, so I said, "Well, what's going on?" And then it was something in that weekend that was something was going on where I had a lot of rage in my heart. Something was going on with other
Yes.
networks and stuff, and you felt that in me.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I felt it. It was very intense.
yeah. So I don't tell mediums a lot because it's kind of scary for them to know things. So you already felt it in me, and then you started bringing up names like Anna, which is on my arm, my grandma. Remember, I told you that. Then you started, and then you did a REIKI treatment on me, from your own spot, and said, "Just hold on. You're gonna hear some smell, or you're gonna witness some smells. You're gonna have dreams." I've had all those dreams. A lot of my dead friends came in, and you and I have been on point since. And remember that a couple weeks ago I said I felt something on you. Something was not right in the hospital and things like that. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So it's like
Hmm.
something's been going on. And we finally said that we have to be 100% when we're around each other to do a show together. And how does it happen every time that we're not 100%? Like last time I was sick, you were kind of sick. This time I have COVID, and then you're okay. Like, but no matter what, today we just got together and did this. Like, it's just
Hmm.
something that's weird that's working with us.
And the thing I feel that I get out of that, how when, everybody I think has an experience in their life where they're like, gosh, I think I knew this person, or wow,
Hmm.
we really connect. And to me, again, it goes back to some type of healing connection. So
Right.
everything I do is so the dreams and the intuitions. And when I share something with people, to me, whatever process that they're going to go through is going to be a healing process, like the dreams that you were having were are all there. And for me to pick up on that and express that to you, the whole intention is that whatever was going on in the past has is coming together, and you are being healed.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what you told me too. The question says, "Did you guys meet in the morgue area?" We did not meet at Dr. Quincy's office. I could promise you that. We literally met at the fourth floor, and that was it. And we kind of just hit it off right from there. And from there on, I felt like I knew her forever.
And
It's a joke.
literally 5 seconds in passing. Hi, how you
That,
doing? Hey, how's it going? Hey, I had a dream about you. Hey, what's happening? Hey, I
that's it.
feel something. What's going on with you today? I mean, and that's how that all works. And I
Yep.
think sometimes if people pay more attention to those types of things, and the more that you're in tune with that, the more, and honestly, for me, it is very uplifting and again, very healing.
I think so too. And at the end of the day, just like I said with Patricia McDowell, yourself, for the rest of my life, I have an absolute friend in the world that we may only, like Patricia McDowell and myself, we may only come across each other one more time in life, but she's always here on BB3. You and I work together every day. Like even though we passed by 5 seconds, met each other, I felt like I knew you a lifetime. It's so weird how that works, you know? And like you said, if most people open their eyes, you know, a lot of I don't know how to explain that. If most people open their eyes, I mean it's right there in front of them, like intuition, friendship. I don't know. You understand what I'm trying to say there?
Yes, and for me, it spills over to like almost messages that people need to hear. For
Mm,
example, when I called you or I texted you that I had a dream and you were involved in it, that about an English telephone booth, and somebody named I believe it was Erica or Eric, and the initials MO. Well, then, a couple of weeks later, I went to Mount Dora and was just hanging out with my sister in law and her friend. And we were supposed to go to one restaurant. We didn't go to that restaurant. We ended up in a restaurant that had a English telephone booth. And I
yeah,
was like, I sent you a picture. I'm like, hey, look what I found.
I know.
And that was crazy. And the initials of the restaurant were MO, yeah. MB, I'm
MO.
sorry.
Yeah, it was
MO.
something like that.
Yeah.
You had texted that to me, and when you said the English phone booth, excuse me, that's something one day when I have my own house again. I told you I wanted an English phone booth in
Yes.
my house just as like somewhere to go hang out and have I mean, I always thought they were the coolest things in the world, you know?
Hmm.
So I've always
Yes.
wanted one of them.
And then on a paranormal level, I do get a lot of my son and I, actually, my kids are really involved in this too. We went on our own like little investigation in Ohio at Ohio University, which historically it's supposed to be one of the haunted places in the United States for various reasons. And we had a really cool experience there, and we had talked about you going to Pennsylvania
Mhm.
to that site. And where we went, there were a lot of soldier it was a soldier cemetery, and I had the experience for months later of having a soldier in my room who had no legs, and he was very, very young. I mean, he was maybe my son's age, like maybe in his early 20s. And it came to a point where using my Reiki to help people pass on also is a benefit for me when I go on investigations, because yes, sometimes maybe we get attached to the energy, is the only way that I can explain it, of someone who maybe needs our help in this life.
I
And I was
understand.
able to help him, and actually said some prayers. I am a God believer and believe in love energy, and was able to help him in my mind and in my emotions feel as though he was able to pass on. But then that all of a sudden just now, Dominic, I thought about that girl that we talked about that
Mhm.
you have had experiences with, and I pick up on that energy, and I almost feel like she is almost like happy to be here because she's here to help other people in some way.
See, that's that tough one because we keep going back and forth with who that is. Remember I said that we got the EVP at the graveyard, Emma, and that's often brought up with the grave guys. That's the one, and I feel like, that's brought up a lot. I took pictures of her grave, so I'd like to send those pictures over to you. That would be Emma.
Hmm.
Um, Now, before we get to another question, the story just told, was that with doing the Reiki with someone passing? Was that your most touching? Like, what's the most touching one that you ever had with when you did the Reiki on someone, and you knew they were gonna pass? Was there the eyes of the person, everything? Are you comfortable talking about that? Like knowing the comfort was there with the process of the
Oh
Reiki?
yeah. So the first one that we actually did was probably the most memorable. We had a patient there who was in a coma. She had not eaten anything for weeks, did not drink anything. She was estranged from her family. She had a lot of family, and we reached out to them, and they were not interested in coming to the hospice house. They didn't want to have anything to do with her. Apparently, they did not have a good relationship with her when she was up and active, and she was an older lady too. I think she was in her 80s, and she was miserable, screaming, crying, all the morphine in the world we gave her, all the medications you can imagine, Ativan, everything that we gave her, nothing would touch her, what we call is spiritual pain. So she was, we call it, someone a difficult transition. She was miserable, but she was also in a coma. So there was nothing we could do for her, that she could interact with us and tell us what was going on. So one night I was working night shift. Me and another girl who had taken the class, and the other nurse was very much a Christian, church person who was struggling with doing the REIKE. She said, I don't know if this is something that, is going to be a good thing for me to do. So we ended up going into her room about 3:00 in the morning after we've given her tons of medication. And we started at her head, and we both did a sweep of her body several times. Every hour we would go in and do it. And when the day shift nurses came in, they said, "Oh, did she finally pass? We don't hear her yelling." And we're like, "No, we did REIKE." And later that day, she passed very peacefully.
Wow.
Yes.
That's incredible.
So then I was hooked. I said, there is something to this.
Now,
and
anyone can learn this, right?
Oh, yeah. I teach it. I teach it as well. Mm-hmm.
Now you have a website. We'll get into that after a bit because I want to promote the website. Patricia McDowell said, "This is wonderful that you provided that piece."
Yes.
So it's into
and,
we have
and
two
it's
questions.
very healing for me too. It's when I have a session of REIKE, it is also very healing for me.
I see. Do you bring equipment or mostly use yourself? Which is your best tool?
Well, I do have some equipment I bring. I do have, when I do REIKE, it's different than when I go on an investigation. When I go on an investigation, I use the regular, the meters and the sound boxes and all those types of things. When I'm doing REIKE, I do have a little kind of kit that I take with me. I have a prayer cloth that I got from that my mom got in Jerusalem. And I use sage to spray the area around and to just kind of center and focus on the moment. I do use a pendulum a little bit. I also use a sound bowl to kind of get the frequency to a frequency that lends itself to more higher energy. And then basically I use music. I use a lot of meditation music just to kind of get the whole moment for its purpose.
Sure.
And then that intention can start there, and I have more focus. And then I'm able to pick up on where people may need to have the REIKE the most.
All right. One more question. How often do you do a seance, or do you feel they are very responsive and credible?
I do not do seances. I do not do Ouija boards. I do not do any type of energy work that would bring forth any kind of demonic or evil entities.
I was gonna say you're not that type. Just knowing you don't have because I use Ouija boards, things like that. When I use my practices as far as ghost hunting, I don't use them all the time, but you don't have it. It's just not you. It's not your personality. You are actually very peaceful. You are the light of things. Like there in this situation, I would say you would just have to meet her. Even if her video was up, you'd be able to see it in her face. I mean, she's a light and always a smile, always very up, alert. Just that type of person. That's what I have to say about you.
Right. And and I don't discredit that at all. It's just not something that is in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Let's go on to the animal aspect of it. The REIKE on the animals.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always had this ability to, when you hold a cat or a dog, and I don't even like cats, but any kind of animals, I mean, even butterflies and worms or whatever, when you're a kid and you're just like, oh, I love this animal, And my kids are exactly the same way. So they are very intuitive as well. But I kind of started that when I was here in Florida, because a lot of our neighbors have dogs. And I would be riding around with my husband in the golf cart, and I'd say, hey, wait a minute, just stop for a minute. I really feel like I need to do some Reiki on this little dog. And I would get out and I would, in particular, this one particular dog, it was a golden, I think. And I could feel where the heat was coming from this dog's hip. So normally, as you know, when animals are hurt, they don't want you to touch them. They usually go off by themselves. And so I sat with this dog for a few minutes and I told the owner, I feel like she wants to cuddle with you. And that's the best thing that you can do for her right now. She was in so much pain. And so then I was telling Linda, our friend Linda at work, about it. And she has two miniature ponies that are therapy ponies, but one of them is a little shy. So I went out and I did the therapy for her ponies, my husband and I, and then we ended up doing Reiki on all the horses and mules, and it was a great experience. And the energy, it's the same, any living thing. I mean, even the trees, I was getting energy and messages from the trees, and I don't think I shared this with you, but the name George came up, and I write things down as I'm going along. And George from work, the house officer at work, boards his horse there. And Linda said, I just talked to George this morning. He's bringing his daughter and his horse out. Wow. So yes. So I just have that connection. And for me, it is just a warm, just wonderful feeling when I'm able to do that. And I just want to keep growing in that.
I love it. And when did you realize that you are a medium?
Probably when I was a lot younger. I could always tell, like, mostly when people would pass. Like, I would wake up in the middle of the night and say, oh no, Annie, so-and-so, I think something's wrong. And then the next day we would get a call that she had passed. I do that with my children. My son was a police officer for a while in Cleveland, Ohio. Right. And I would know when he'd have a bad night. I mean, I would know it. A couple of maybe, how long has it been now? A month or so ago, when they had the school shooting in Texas. Yeah. I woke up and I told my husband, I'm like, something really bad happened. And I don't know, it's almost like if I had a giant umbrella, and if the umbrella is kind of closed, it feels like and I have those feelings, it's someone closer to me. But then if I feel this huge opening, to me, it's something global is happening. And so I have this intuition on all different levels.
I understand that. We have I want to share something with you. We're going to go into another question here, but I want to share this with you. I remember a night that I had my headphones on, right? I was sitting in my waterbed. It was probably, well, you're going to know what year it was. I was sitting with my headphones on in my bed, and the night was so calm because I feel things. I've always did as a kid. And I said to myself, something's not going to be right tomorrow. The next day was September 11th. Patricia McDowell just says, but then, hold on one second. She has a question here. What makes a Reiki master compared to just someone who performs Reiki?
A Reiki master is one that can teach. Basically, that's the difference. There's another level, like the levels 1 and 2 in Reiki. There's level 3, and that one is the Reiki master. And that just is a matter of how many hours you've practiced, and then you can teach Reiki. Sure.
Well, Glenda, we are at the 29-minute marker, 30 minutes. I said we'd run about 45 minutes. All right, so let's get into some dirt. You ready?
Yeah.
We both work in a hospital. I work paranormal. You do too. Do you have some experiences? We're not going to mention the hospital out of respect. Do you have experiences at the hospital?
Yes. I've had experiences at many hospitals.
Okay.
And when we worked in hospice, there were particular rooms that had particular, we'll call them angels, and family members would be terrified. They're like, oh, there's this little girl standing in the corner. They'd explain what she looks like. And I wouldn't say anything because I didn't want to scare them. It was the same little person that was in those particular rooms. most recently I had, there's a certain hallway that I go, that I've had the experience of going down, and it was interesting because it was a older lady with a nightgown on, kind of limping and following me. And the next day there were more of them. And
At
so,
ours,
yes.
3G
So,
or what?
uh, it was on the third floor. Yes.
I
Yes,
knew it because
exactly.
that's where the elevator opens up on me all the time. I'm in the elevator and no one's there. It
Ah,
opens up on me all the time because I'm
yes.
open to this. And every time it opens up on me, I said, "Hello, see you later,"
Uh-huh.
and then it closes, and then I go back to where I need to go.
Yes.
Literally,
And I think it's in our response, because
yeah.
I acknowledge them. And I'm like, okay. And at one point, I felt that, and this is, and I think about these things too much. And
Mhm.
I felt that one of the energies was that of my grandmother, who was very, very devout Nazarene Christian person, who this is a big no-no in my family. My family thinks that I'm a witch or whatever. And
Sure.
but the feelings that I was getting was of my grandmother. And it would be like, I told my husband, it's almost like she's telling me, to hang in there, because the healthcare is so hard, right now. And as you know, I mean, now our staffing is tanked because of COVID, and
Sure.
there's more COVID patients, and just that message not to just get discouraged. And I think for when we realize that the power that we have when we encounter opening elevators and you're saying hi and acknowledging people, um, and we don't have the vocabulary to explain what these experiences are like, but
Yeah.
I do know that when that happens in that location, I just acknowledge it, and just I acknowledge that it's okay for them to go ahead and leave. But the funny thing is, a lot of times I experience that they don't want to leave for whatever
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah, maybe not. And I see things, and I want to get your opinion on this too. Like, I'll go to the certain floors, and there'll be a person talking to somebody in the room, and no one's there. And do you have something for this person? And they're explaining. They're literally having a conversation with a person who's not there, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll acknowledge, the person will acknowledge me by saying, that this person's there, and I say, well, where are they? And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
well, they're right here, and I'll acknowledge that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
In my heart, I actually believe they're there,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
you can feel it. And with dementia patients and Alzheimer's patients, or even patients that have had trauma, seriously, we don't know what goes on.
Yeah.
We really don't have. That's why things like Ouija boards and all these other
Mhm.
things do help us with the communication. But a lot of times, going with your gut feeling and trusting your intuition, you'll get the answers there too.
Glenda, I talked to a nurse there too. She doesn't want to be part of the show. She's on third floor and other floors, but she had an experience one time where she doesn't believe in the paranormal. Until one time she had a nice old lady. She explained this to me. She had a nice old lady that would just turn like demonic, like almost
Hmm.
demonic style, like growling at her,
Hmm.
things like that. And um just nasty, like a
Hmm.
nasty person. And then like go back to this sweet old lady.
Hmm.
This nurse, like I said, she doesn't want to be on the show, but like as far as like she goes, she didn't believe in paranormal until she saw what this lady could do. Like she said there
Hmm.
was something more, and something else to life, almost like something had a hold of her
Yes. And
until her
I
death.
Yes, and I've had that experience. I just had that experience a couple of weeks ago with someone that I was doing Reiki on. And and this one is crazy. I just love doing this. So
Mhm.
with her, and this has happened with other people in the past, she was abducted by aliens.
Sure.
So there was a piece of part of the, and this has happened many times with me, the piece of the Reiki where I felt an energy calling me a bitch. You're a
Mhm.
bitch, just something really negative, leave us alone. You're a bitch. And then I just move on. I don't even acknowledge it,
Yeah.
honestly. And I certainly don't tell the person, because what they're depending on me to give them the best energy. And that's exactly what I do. And then whatever my light shines through, it just kind of faded is a good way to put it. But yeah, it's there. I totally believe that it's there.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. It just we know that there's something more to life. I mean, you nurses see it all. I mean, you're not a nurse. You're something more. I actually don't know what you're actually.
I'm a nurse. I'm
Yeah,
a
you are a nurse.
nurse. Yeah, I have a bachelor's degree. I'm a
Okay.
case manager. Well, now I'm a holistic nurse, and then Reiki.
Well, oddly enough, to go back on the subject, on the third floor, there is actually video. Someone else that was supposed to be on the show, but she don't know if she want to do this either. But she has video of the doors
What?
opening and closing on the third
Yeah.
floor. Yep. Opening and closing. Now we could always go back to debunking the skeptic side of it and things like that, but there's too much. We know what the third floor is,
Listen,
and there's just too much.
those doors don't open when you want them to open.
I know, and she has video of them opening and closing, opening and closing.
Oh, I would love to meet her.
Yeah, you actually have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, I know.
I'll tell you her name, and I'll actually text you her name and after a bit. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, we did that, and there's a lot of people in there. We in our area alone downstairs. One of our bosses says that they've seen a ghost where we are. We have the morgue right next to where we work. So like they've said that they've seen things, they've heard things. Especially there's apparently a female ghost down there. I've seen a couple things out the corner of my eyes, but like. I'm a ghost hunter, but I'm also a skeptic at the same time. I see things in hallways. I feel things in hallways. I feel things when that elevator opens. But I'll tell you something. All the years I'm not scared of anything. I'm not scared of any kind of negative forces. No, nothing. I'm not afraid of anything there. I see it every day. And like, actually that third floor, when I walk through that certain hallway, I could feel the energies lifting out of people. Like it's very heavy on me. You know what I mean? How can I put that?
Yeah.
I know when they're about to leave. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, and you can feel that, and it feels heavy because it's almost like, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to leave the body and to go wherever we go when we leave it. There is a definite struggle, and it is heavy most of the time with my experience. I've worked with hospice patients for many years, and I've sat with people as they passed on. And there's a period where there's a restlessness, where it's a medical diagnosis, terminal restlessness. And then after they pass through that terminal restlessness period, sometimes people just go very quickly and some of them just kind of hang out for a while. But yes, that heaviness is there. The other thing that I do practice too, when I do pick up on some very negative energy, is shielding up. So
what is that?
So shielding up is what I do when I'm feeling negative energy, and I do it with people and with different energies. And the intention is for protection, that I don't get sucked in by their energy, because from what I've read and from different things that I've seen, is that sometimes the negative, darker energies really are attracted to light, and they don't want you to be happy. they want to suck your energy out of you. So shielding up is just a way for me to protect my energy.
I understand that. So before we head out, what's the craziest thing you've ever experienced in the hospital as far as paranormal? The craziest one now, because we're going to end it with that.
Okay. Let me see. So, probably the craziest thing that I've seen is, we had a patient that was dying, and the daughter was furious, and she came out yelling and screaming, "My mother keeps talking about this guy, Walter. Who is Walter? Why does Walter keep going in her room? We don't want anyone in her room. Who is this Walter?" And the nurses and I looked at each other, and we looked up at the board, and we pointed to the note. We handed the note to her, and the guy who died in that room previously, right before she was in that room, his name was Walter.
Wow.
And we said, "Here's a letter from Walter's family," and it had Walter in room blah blah blah. "Thank you for taking such good care of him while he was here. We appreciate blah blah blah."
That was at our place.
So Walter was no. It wasn't there.
Oh,
But it was actually kind of funny because these people, these patients' families are, they're out of their mind accusing people of
yeah.
everything. And but it was, it was like, well, Walter died in that room. So yeah, he's been hanging out there with your mom. Sorry.
It is pretty crazy. And you know what? You get, if anyone worked in the hospital, you get the different experience of what a human being could really be. Like, as far as like their attitude towards you,
Mhm.
it'll change your mind about a human. You're there to help somebody, and a lot of times we get shit on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So
I think that's why I don't pick up on it as much there at work because of the way things are now for the last 3 years in the health.
sure.
You know, before I had this job, I was the admissions manager for one of the local hospices,
Wow.
but I didn't get a chance to work with the patients. I was in management, so I don't know, but I do feel like the connection with like you and Linda and different nurses
Yes.
because we share more than I share with the patients and their families.
Indeed. And I would like to do this more. If you have any more nurses that would like to come on with
Oh,
you in the
sure.
future, I would love to do this. So grab a group together and let's do this. Now,
Okay.
you have a website, right?
Yes.
Okay. What is this website?
It's called Healing Dove Reiki, but I haven't been on it for a while, to be
Okay,
honest.
Healing Dove Reiki. So send me the link to that, and I'm going to put it on the BB3 site. You guys could
Okay.
check Glenda out. And Glenda, we are definitely going to have you again.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to say this to you too before we head out. Um, Thank you for one, just being my friend, and thank you for just approaching me in my life out of nowhere. That, like, I know I have a friend for life, and thank you for everything that you do. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm here for you. And then on BB3 TV, you're gonna be forever family, as like a Patricia McDowell is. There she is right now.
Yeah, thank
My
you.
mom's actually there right now. Patricia Santaserra. She's a big supporter of the show. It's a great
Hmm.
show. Patricia said, "What a great show! Just putting this in for you." I was on out the door and I heard my phone. There it is.
Hmm.
So as far as this, Glenda, I just want to say once again, thank you for being on here.
Oh, anytime. And I would love to do an investigation with you. I've done
Yes.
investigations in Ocala already and would love to share some of those experiences with you.
We're gonna do that for sure. We got the grave guys, and then we got the boo hunters. So we got some investigations to do, and I will 100% fact have you on those investigations with me. All right,
Very good. Thank you so much.
Glenda, I'm gonna let you go right now. And once again, thank you for being here. I'm gonna say my goodbyes to the BB3 family. Glenda, it was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you
All right,
very much, Dominic.
thank
Okay.
you.
Namaste, my friend.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, that was a BB3 TV. We are home for Variety Entertainment. Check us out. Please give us a like, share, follow, and subscribe, and most importantly, enjoy. Thank you, guys. This is Dom, Real Talk with Dom, BB3 TV.